anticipated traffic.
Number of trucks coming here from 85, I'm not sure I follow.
Sure. We'll let our traffic consultant.
Thank you, Jim. I'm Ernie Peters with Peters and Associates Engineers. Chairman Irwin and Commissioners, it's my pleasure to be here this evening to speak to you. Some of you know me. I've done a lot of work in Bryant over the years, and I appreciate the opportunity to be involved in this project. We have looked at the particular use that is planned for this site, and we have estimated the traffic generation based on that. That includes the number of employees and also LKQ's estimate of the number and types of vehicles that are expected to serve the facility. If you'll bear with me, I'll go through some of the detail associated with that so that you have a full understanding of the type of activity that's involved in this site. This facility is expected to have 4 tractor trailer units that are 35 feet trailer length. That's a small semi-tractor these days. As you know, or may know, a WB or wheelbase 67 is kind of the maximum legal truck on the road. None of those will serve this site. There will also be 2 other tractor trailers that are about the same size that are not owned by the facility. There'll also be several single unit vehicles. These are 26 to 40 foot vehicles, about UPS or FedEx size delivery vehicles or school bus size vehicles, if you will. 10 smaller Isuzu type trucks that are 18 to 20 feet, about the size of a normal passenger vehicle or pickup truck. And then even some smaller single unit vehicles, 8 of those, and then 2 warehouse delivery vehicles that are about 26 feet. And then they estimate 2 UPS trucks per day will serve the facility. Beyond that, we have estimated that there could be 10 visitor or employee vehicles coming and going at the site. And we've estimated, based on 70 employees, the trips associated with them, and we count the traffic volume in terms of vehicle trips. We count vehicles going into the site and vehicles leaving the site. So it's double the number of actual vehicles, if you will. But for the employees, we've assumed on the high side that each and every employee doesn't bring their lunch, that they come in the morning, leave for lunch, come back after lunch, and leave again in the afternoon. So 4 vehicle trips per day per employee. And then the same thing we've assumed on all the trucks, that all of them that would enter would leave during the 24-hour period. But as has been indicated, most of the operation is 8 to 5. They have 1 shift of employees. Some of them may extend into the evening hours for the warehousing operation. But it's essentially a daytime operation. Of that total, then, of all those vehicles and all those employees coming and going on a daily basis, we estimate a total then of 364 vehicle trips per day for the whole 301,000 square feet of warehouse facility. This is a small traffic volume. This would compare, if you will, if on this 20 acres it were developed as, let's just say, a big box Walmart supercenter. Walmart used to build 220,000 square foot supercenters. They don't do that anymore. In fact, they're not building very many at all anymore. But they more typically now build 150,000, 160,000 square foot. But a Walmart supercenter of that size will generate about 8,000 to 9,000 vehicle trips per day, compared to 364 vehicle trips for this facility. All of the access will be on Raymar, west of the subdivision intersection, or directly to the frontage road on the north side of the site. There will not be any left turns coming out of Raymar Crossing Drive onto Raymar. And most of the traffic will be oriented towards the interstate. I'm not a noise expert, but it's been my experience in what I have done and been exposed to, primarily related to interstate highway travel. That most truck noise is associated with the wheels on the pavement. And that's because of the high-speed operation and the pavement surface itself. That's why you hear along interstate highways a lot of truck traffic noise. You don't hear the engines themselves, you hear the noise associated with the wheels on the pavement. The operation at this facility and accessing to it and from it will all be low speed. It will not be the 70 mile per hour truck traffic that you experience out on Interstate 30. So the noise from trucks should not be great in magnitude. That's about all I have to say. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
I have a question about traffic.
Yes.
Is this based on future growth of LKQ? Is the warehouse operating, are you basing these on full capacity? Is it operating at full capacity?
It's
Or
my
will there be
understanding,
growth?
it's my understanding that it will fully occupy and use this 301,000 square feet at 70 employees. Now, as they've indicated, they may in the future grow that number of employees, but understand that for that full 70 employees, we're talking about only 280 vehicle trips a day, based on the fairly conservative assumption I've made that each and every one comes and goes twice a day. So if that volume were to, a number of employees were to significantly increase by twice, 140 employees, I'm not suggesting that that's going to happen, but if that were to happen, that would add another 280 vehicle trips to the 364 that I estimated. So we'd still be under 600 vehicle trips per day.
Is there a chance
Again,
that
fairly small.
the semi-truck traffic could increase or grow?
That's conceivable too, but understand, if you will, that this is a total of only 32 trucks of different sizes, a few large ones, and mostly mid-range to small ones. Yeah, it could increase to depending on the operation.
To put that in context, Spring Hill intersection with Highway 5 is about, what, 40,000 cars a day?
I don't have specific information on
It's
that,
40.
but it's probably in that magnitude, yeah. And as I said, this is, in the big scheme of things, this is a low traffic volume generator.
You can't speak to this, I guess someone else in the group can speak to the speed limit on Raymar, or these trucks, no matter what their size, would that be 35 miles per hour?
Yes, sir, 35.
Oh, somebody say,
Speed limit on Raymar is 35.
So those 40 trucks, what percentage of total volume, if your business takes off, is this 20% of capacity, 50% of capacity? I mean, if that thing's getting at 100%.
Yeah, I think, just based on recent history and some of the other projects, when they go in, probably 3 to 5 years, we could maybe increase by 25 to 30%-ish. That would be, that would be pretty significant. Todd would probably get a bonus.
With the majority of your commercial vehicles, your larger vehicles, how do you plan for them to enter and exit the property? Are they accessing on the access road, or are they accessing on Raymar? How do you plan to do that?
We believe that the majority of them will enter and leave on the service road. There will be destinations departing the site that will be to the west, which means that they need to come into the loop that will take them to the north side of Interstate 30, where they can get back on and go to the west of Interstate 30. And perhaps 50% would go either direction.
Am I correct though? Couldn't they come out and get on the service road and go down the county line and not get on Raymar? Wouldn't that be a safer? for these trucks? It would take them about 2 minutes longer.
That route is possible, whether they would direct the trucks to do that or not. I don't know.
Because
I would think it would not be a handicap for those smaller vehicles particularly, to go on up to the overpass and turn around.
The smaller vehicles, of course, can negotiate any kind of turns much easier than the tractor trailer.
And how many tractor trailers did you say?
Total of 6.
6 tractor trailers.
12 trips a day.
Yes, 12 trips, 6 units, 12 trips per day.
You can't speak to the fuel usage, pumps on the property.
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. We can't speak to the fuel usage or tanks on the property.
LP above ground, but, yeah, it's LP above ground.
Propane,
Right.
so there's no gasoline.
So it's fuel for the forklifts, not the trucks.
Fuel for the forklifts, and is there a generator? Yes, a backup generator, right. Let me pop down real quick earlier. I can hear my wife on my shoulder. When I don't eat, I get angry, so just sorry about that.
Tough situation. Any other questions you have at this time? Mr. Whitehager want to speak on some of the questions that people had on the comments?
Before I step down, I just do want to say to the neighbors, we hear you, and LKQ has been a good neighbor, and they will continue to be a good neighbor. And I assure you, we'll do everything within our power and within reason to work with you guys.
Thank you.
Before you leave the podium, when you say you work with the neighbors, what do you, any specifics that you're thinking of?
Well, the first thing we'll do is when we are completed and we have an open house and we invite them all to come up for lunch, they'll be able to see that what we put is exactly what we said we were going to put. LKQs, obviously, they're active in Bryant right now, right? I mean, I know for a fact in a lot of the communities where we've built these new facilities, because they're state of the art, that a lot of times they'll actually be, they'll have warehouse, they'll offer people to come in and look at their warehouse for training, if you will. A lot of times they use Todd, I don't know if you guys are, a laser guided forklift system. It's pretty state of the art, and if there's other, companies that are coming into town that are gonna have some warehousing requirements, they might look at what they've got. So it's just they're open to.
It's not working with.
Please, let the people speak.
Chairman Irwin, Commissioner, my name is Tim Bader. Chairman Irwin, Commissioners, my name is Tim Daters. I'm a consulting engineer with White Daters and Associates. Also with me is my partner, Joe White. We both worked together on this project. Joe has worked extensively on the site plan. I've worked extensively with Andy in addressing the storm drainage. The storm drainage from this developed site, none of the storm drainage will run to the east towards Lexington Park. None of the discharge from this developed site will run south across Rainwater into the subdivision. All the storm drainage from this developed site will run west of Middle Lake subdivision, through the church's property. We're working with the church, and this is a natural way for this water to go. We've got a large detention facility on this site. In fact, we actually have to make the site bigger to accommodate the stormwater detention facility along our new street. In the future, there will be either additional detention facilities on this project or on Point South so that we can apply. Bryant has got a very comprehensive stormwater detention ordinance now. It regulates the discharge of all the storm frequencies, not just a 25-year event, but all the way up to a 100-year event. And this project and all the future projects in this subdivision will comply with that ordinance completely. So if you have any specific questions, Joe or I can address those.
Anything else you want to discuss, bring up with the comments that were spoken? about on this plan, the concerns? This time I recommend. Roll call vote, please.
One clarification.
Okay.
So the vote we'll be taking will be a conforming building. I guess that's a question.
It will be conforming, absolutely.
On our agenda, you're removing the letter for a waiver or not.
No waivers, no variances. Comply. But I would, for the record, like to state that cost, which we will, again, we will do that. The neighbors or whoever, totally option if they'd rather have that money spent on something else, i.e. beautification, we're open to that.
Because
So
But
it's
it's up
either
to-
one.
That's us.
roll call vote, please.
Penfield,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Mayfield,
Yes.
Staton,
Yes.
Brunt,
Yes.
Pope,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Irwin.
Yes. Requesting site plan approval for LKQ Warehouse by White Data Associates has been approved.
Are they lining your pockets?
Let it get settled down before we move forward.
Okay, Kim.
Okay, next item of business is Springville Estate, 4214 Springville Road, Bryant, Arkansas. Who's engineering requesting approval for waiver on sidewalk, requesting preliminary plat approval as well.
Yes, so, Commission, this is, the extension of that rezoning that you talked about earlier. So a lot of that conversation we were in, when it came to the use. Now we can discuss, with the site, with the, preliminary plat. The one thing, that does need to happen with this preliminary plat is that it needs to be contingent upon city council approval. So all rezonings are,
Just stretch it.
okay.
My wife said, I'm gonna do more inspection.
Continue on.
So, like I said, it does need to be contingent upon the, city council approval of the preliminary plat. Not of the, I'm sorry, of the rezone. As for the plat, once again, it meets all of our regulations. It's been through DRC. The one thing, that they are requesting is a waiver. If you notice the property or the subdivision, how it's set up, it's got a road running across the north side and there's building, or the homes will be on the south. The property just north of this is a commercial property.
Let's pause.
It's just good.
Right. Get this door shut.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor Scott. Go ahead.
Sorry.
The waiver has to do with that sidewalk specifically, sidewalk being on the opposite side of the road from where the homes are constructed.
So you're talking about it being, on the south side of the commercial development, the storage buildings now, the waste estimate has to be taken off.
Right.
How much property is between is there a fence there?
There is, that's what I was just going to
How
say.
much property is between the fence and the street? Is it like 10 feet or 15 or 20?
I think that the engineer applicant on this could probably answer that better than I can, but there's not very much there. So if there's a narrow strip there that's sort of in between, because you're asking basically what the distance is between that fence and
Is
the
there not
property
room
line.
for a sidewalk? Are they asking because of a financial hardship or for a specific reason, or just don't feel it's necessary?
No house.
No houses on that side.
I think they can answer that question specifically.
But our code requires one,
Our code requires a sidewalk.
even if there's no house.
Even if there's, our street spec calls for a sidewalk on either side of the street. So that master transportation plan, says that there will be a sidewalk on either side of the street, or, you know, in some cases, multi-use trails, things like that.
But in instances where the terrain wouldn't allow for it, it wasn't in a used location, we issued waivers.
Correct.
It wouldn't be out of step if someone wanted to develop behind of that street, that they would put that sidewalk in at that point. Correct. Only thing I wanna address, I think the guy got forward and left.
No, he's back there.
Oh, is he still here?
He's back, come on up.
Who? No, I'm talking about the gentleman during the rezoning that was concerned with the drainage. He was, I think he thought.
Oh, he did leave, yes.
I think he thought that the existing pond was gonna serve as a stormwater drain. I want, the engineer to address the design for the record of the detention pond, what he plans to do there.
Yeah, and just because we mentioned it again, I think it's important to say every time, we take stormwater very seriously, specifically in DRC on the staff level. That's something that, you know, we're done, we're trying to fix problems that we currently have in the system, and we're not in the business of creating new ones. So all of those, we stick to that plan very rigorously. So it's stormwater, something we take very seriously as we do with the rest of our things.
I just want Philip to address it for the minutes.
Okay, so if there's any questions for me specifically, I'll let Phil get up here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Phil, could you step forward, please? Sure. State your name again.
Philip Lewis Engineering. And I'll address the sidewalk first. It was not a request of the developer not to have that. Our thought was it allowed a little bit more green space on that north side, because it is a pretty narrow strip, the way the width of the lot is. So I don't think he would be objective, that's something that didn't want to be granted as a waiver. It was just, again, an attempt to leave more green space, so that wasn't a hardship or cost consideration necessarily.
How much space is between the street and the edge of the property on that north side?
Quite, I believe there's, and I'd have to look in a detailed plan, and I apologize for not knowing off the top of my head. I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning, but I believe it's right at 15 feet.
And the sidewalk would be,
There should be a side, there should be a dimensions.
When you can see it halfway, you know what I'm talking about, Paul? Read my mind.
I don't know. I was.
There it is, a cross section.
Yeah.
That'll show you what the street looks like.
thank you.
Yes, I've seen you.
What is the terrain like? Is it flat, or is it sloped?
Well, in general, it slopes up from Spring Hill to the center, basically the center of the property, and it slopes back to the east. So consequently, due to that fact, we're having to put a detention pond on both ends to address what Lance was talking about. We have a detention pond on the east and west end. One on the east end, the gentleman expressed concern earlier, it lives southeast of there. So we it's basically split almost in half. So half of the runoff's going east, half's west. So we basically, I don't want to use the word lost 2 lots, but there's 2 ways to develop the lots.
The pond he was speaking of, would it still be there, or is that required?
No, so it's in the general vicinity, but it'll be mapped out and we'll.
So there'll be no more water, he should not be flooding anymore.
Correct, right, exactly.
You should help his drainage problem.
Oh, absolutely, I mean, absolutely, we've done the calculations, submitted that for review, and
So based on our plan is sidewalks on both sides of the street.
That is what the spec calls for, is the sidewalks on both sides of
And
the
you
street.
just stated that you did not think the owner would be objective to putting that in, really.
no, he's not honestly expressed anything one way or the
I
other.
think I figured it'd be about $15,000.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean,
I mean, it's not, but is it necessary?
Right, that's the question.
Is the question.
And
Is it beneficial to anybody?
That's my question.
Yes.
I mean, if you're a walker or pushing a baby, guess. You could go to the other side and not be walking across driveways.
If you wanted a loop.
Wanted the loop, or you just
Wanna
didn't
do a
wanna
loop?
be worried about cars backing into you.
Cause you're sure not gonna be walking on Spring Hill.
Well, you say that, and it's something that I wanted to point out.
Okay.
He is doing the Street improvements on Spring Hill, just like we have required other developments along Spring Hill to do. You know, the portion of that is that multi-use trail, which I think I know I'm excited about. This is gonna connect to the existing section that's already there, and this is gonna build down from it, so. That they won't be, hopefully one day, they'll be, you know, running, walking, biking, all up and down, Spring Hill on that trail that, they're doing.
I'm just talking about the interior of the subdivision.
But that's just on the left side of this drawing,
Yes.
it's not down the street.
No.
Okay.
But that's with that larger section that's heading north and south. There's an existing section that's already built, on the north side.
And there's a privacy fence there on the north border.
That's, we're showing a privacy fence will be installed on the north and along the east, and then as each lot builds out, of course, they'll have
Isn't there a fence there already from the mini storage?
there is a fence, but my recollection is, and again, I apologize, I believe it's a chain link, I don't know that it's a.
That's what mostly they've done.
Yes.
Chain link fence or something.
Correct, so, and Robert that was here earlier, Moser, who's one of the two owners, has already talked with Bud Finley and about doing something together possibly there. Yeah, but regardless, they'll be putting a privacy fence in, so.
Can you make a what's the distance front to back from Spring Hill Road to the back of the subdivision?
I believe we are right in I apologize. I believe it's right at, I wanna say.
How many lots do you have?
Have not seen lots, 60 feet.
600,
It's a little over 500 feet, yeah,
so
600.
660, most of those are 330 by 660.
The way the 5 acres were split up, yeah.
Most of that is 660.
Yeah.
Where's your metro, since you're a health person, having a sidewalk on both sides, is that beneficial or?
Not at that distance, I don't think, no.
Okay.
Safety is always concerned with driveways and things like that, as far as distance. No, it's not.
Okay.
Would there be any drainage problems with the sidewalk? You know, you can't build a sidewalk on a slope, so, I mean, is it gonna create any more drainage problems or anything if the
I don't-
sidewalk was there?
I mean, no, the only thing it would do would just be more hard surface runoff versus grass, which is what the other there, but I mean, you'd be replacing grass with concrete. But I mean,
I guess the question I have, people say, well, we're gonna build houses on that side.
If they what?
If they're gonna build a house on that side, since they've got a sidewalk on that side.
Well, it'd be a tiny house nation.
Well, we do have some subdivisions that have tiny homes on
Well,
them.
that'd be a really tiny. And it's my understanding, I think this was brought up in DRC, Lance might have brought this up, I believe Bud Finley has, what he has there now is the first phase of multi-phase mini storage. It's gonna go down the entire length of the property, so
Correct.
it'll be mini storage on.
I would prefer to see screening and fencing beside on the sidewalk if I lived in this house.
Yeah, maybe
That's just me. If I was gonna spend $50